Okay. Were you getting that double? That might be one that we could even.
It looked like you went halfway one lap.
Yeah, it hurt.
Well, so that's a double that you can practice kind of doing that. We can work that and explain a little bit what casing should look and feel like. I remember when I did a class, the very first class I did with Hunter Lawrence, he took his group and I look over and his whole group is just casing the dome. So that's where he started. He took them over and he just said, all right, we're going to practice casing. So that way you know how to land front tire first, you know how to keep your legs strong, and you know how to handle a harder impact. So that way if you go to jump a little further, like, you know what to do. Right? I think too many of us, I said this yesterday, too many of us make that progression to the next jump that's a little bit above our limit, and next thing you know, we're in over our head. And we're in the air, we lock up completely, we don't correct the bike, and then we just say a little prayer before we land and hope it all goes well. You want to have those tools in the toolbox. So if you need to pull that clutch and tap the rear brake. So if you need to upshift in the air, downshift in the air, all of these things that so many people aren't comfortable with yet, let's use today to start experimenting with that a little bit. Who here has brake tap in the air? Who here is not but wants to? Who here is not brake tapped in the air?
Who's brake tapped installed their bike?
Who's brake tapped in the air and installed the bike? I have. Now if you want to stand up for me. So the way that I teach this is it's designed to be a process so that you can remember, right? I said the exact same thing. I have 10 employees that work for me, and if there weren't processes in place, who knows what the heck would happen, right? People would just be making stuff up as they went. So you need to be able to have that process so you don't make the same mistakes twice. So you have a checklist that you can go through and remember. This same thing on the dirt bike. You can go through the checklist from your feet to your head. When you get good at it, you can go through the checklist in less than a step. So balls of feet, that's gonna be step number one. You guys can stand up and go through the motion as we're doing it. So balls of feet. So you're not on your tippy toes necessarily, but you're just behind those tippy toes, right on the ball of your foot. Everybody know where that is? Second thing with the toes, this is super important. We're going to squeeze them all the way tight up against the frame. So whether you're standing or sitting, there should never be space in between the toe box of your boot and the frame of that bike. Really, I even do this sometimes. Well, I'll just make sure that I just whack the boot into the side of the engine case, just to be sure. Third thing with the feet, and this might feel a little weird if we're not comfortable with this, is dropping your heels down below the foot head. That's going to be your reset position. You don't need a ton of ankle flexions to reset, but at least a little bit. So although we're on the balls of our feet, the weight is starting to shift more into our heels. So good job on the Yamaha 296, looking good. 727 looking great. 5 on KTM looking good. 228 looking good. And when you do this, you can let your heels have some distance between the swing arm or the frame of the bike. And what that'll do is it'll actually pigeon toe your feet. It'll pigeon toe you. So when you do that and you point your toes in, it points your kneecaps in. And this is the key. So our points of contact with the lower body should be the toes and your knees. It doesn't need to be your heels. So when you stand, don't be afraid to really bow those toes inward. I'm telling you right now, it's going to just drive those knees inward and we'll be able to grip that bike. So that's the three thing with the feet. When you sink those heels down, it should drive your knees back. And that's going to be the key. So it's almost like a deadlift position for any of us that work out. It's keeping those knees back. So when we drop down, the knees don't jam forward. That's going to be the key. So it's exactly that. When you're going through rollers, when you're hitting supercross whoops, when you're hitting jump takeoffs and landings, braking bumps, anything that you're in attack position standing up, it's that deadlift movement up and down. There is not a time when we should be sliding those knees forward and back. So really be aware of that throughout the day, because that's the common theme. I see riders do this the whole time. Knees forward, knees back, knees forward, and that bike is just so confused as to what's going on. So keeping those knees stacked. Once you do that, you'll find it much easier to drive your hips back. So a good way to remember this is if somebody just took their pointer fingers here and just drove your hips further back. The more you practice this, the less weird it will feel, the more flexible you'll feel to be able to get there. I think for guys, our hamstrings get tight really quick. So do your best. Drive those hips back. Really important position because it creates that anterior pelvic tilt, which is what allows the lower body to work freely from the upper body. And did anybody experience what that felt like yesterday? Do that the right way. I mean, you could let that bike dance and skip around and cross rut. You could do a whip and not bring it back and it's fine, because the lower body is working separate. It's when we get nervous and push the bike away from us and roll that back and we end up with that hunchback that now we're connected to the bike as one, and our upper body is just getting flung around. We're a passenger at that point. So it's easy to have it happen on this track because in sand and big jumps, I think it's just easy to get intimidated and to just push that bike away from you. So really do your best today, guys, to pinch shoulder blades and drive that chest forward while keeping those hips driven off the back. The most important thing about riding, period, would be this position right here. And this should be the reset. So if we're going up the sand hill and we're nervous, stand up. We're going into a mud section, stand up in the attack position. We're going into super deep ruts, stand up in the attack position. But still seeing a lot of you guys, even those of you that were here yesterday, when we get to the scary stuff out there, we sit down, we just put our feet out and hope for the best and hope that we can kind of paddle through it. That is only going to make it more difficult, I promise. The two major differences to make this movement more dynamic instead of just a static standing would be your acceleration position and then your braking position. So you'll see when Alex goes to accelerate, he does a good job of driving chest and head forward while trying his best to keep those knees back. So he'll go basically at a straight leg, right? And he'll hinge those hips forward, drive that chest and head up. So that would be acceleration position. We practiced this a lot yesterday, especially with one hand, right? And the key to that is moving forward before you twist the throttle. I think that's the key that people forget. They get into an attack position, they twist the throttle, and then they try and pull themselves forward. Too late. You need to fall forward first and then catch yourself with throttle. That's why when pros hit neutral, they ragged all over the front of the bike. We're expecting them to do that, right? Chase section's done it a few times. You've seen pros do that before, right? That's the key. Move forward before you twist the throttle. Then you see Alex drop down into a braking position, so he can just drop a little bit lower, drop his chest lower, to offset that weight so he doesn't get blown over the front of the bike when he's braking, right? And I don't describe the braking as much as leaning back as I do just drop and flow. Just want to get into the deepest squat that you can to try to offset lower that center of gravity and make it so you don't get blown over the front of the bike, right? Now, sitting position. We're going to sit just about one hand width from the front of the seat in sand. And if you watch Southwick, I mentioned this yesterday as well. I saw Jet doing a lot of sitting right above his feet. His bike is set up to allow him to sit a little further back. So it won't work on all of your guys' bikes, but you can experiment with sitting a little bit more neutral on that seat today, see if it works. Upper body is going to be a lot more upright than what you guys think. So many of us are used to putting the butts to the seat and then yanking our head forward, and because that feels aggressive. That feels like you're attacking, right? But where I want you is just straight up and down with that upper body. As you accelerate, you're going to pretend that somebody's pulling a string from your sternum. So the acceleration is chest forward and the head will follow. It's not pulling with your forearms. Just the shoulder blade pinch, drive chest forward. So like 228, subtle, right? You don't have to do... This is something that Jet is amazing at. You watch Jet exit a corner, it never really looks like he's charging, right? That's why the announcers are always like, is this guy trying? You can't really even tell because he's so vertical when he sits down on that bike. But that is what allows his hips to stay in the right spot, and so it allows the lower body to make mistakes without affecting the upper body. So the secret to Jet's riding that's right in front of your face is it's his hips. And we'll talk a lot about those hips today. I'll sound like a broken record, but it wouldn't matter if Alex is on the stand, a complete beginner or first timer here, or Jet Lawrence. I'd go through the same thing and put emphasis on the same thing. That was the one learning lesson when I went and trained with those guys. I ran 4 or 5 days a week with them. And it was amazing how basic it was. We would do circles in the grass field. We would ride the turn track out in the grass field. We would do stand-up motos. There was nothing complicated or secret about what we were doing. Now, they didn't let me film because they wanted everybody to think that there was something going on. But there's nothing secretive going on, I can guarantee you that. It's the basics. So unfortunately for you guys, that kind of eliminates the excuse of, no, maybe they have this, 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 and this that they have access to. It's just the pros are dedicated to just doing the basics over and over and over again. And for some reason in this sport, somewhere along the way, we forgot about the fact that fundamentals are the most important part. These training facilities brought about a lot of just sprint laps and motos and having that stopwatch going constantly. And I do think a lot of bike skill has been lost in the last 10, 15 years because of that. And that's why Jet can stand out. He has bike skill. He can do wheelies. He can tire tap things. He can jump through the braking bumps like he's a bunny rabbit hopping through the bumps just so light on his feet. That's bike skill that's developed through focusing on tech. Any questions that you guys have, whether it be body position related, bike setup related, we're going to go out and we're going to start with jumps. I think the plan is we're going to go to the kids track to start. We'll do a couple of stand-up only and one-hand jump drills. And then we'll go to the big track and we'll pick a jump to focus out on the big track and tie that into it. Okay, any other questions? Yeah.
So when we go from like sitting to standing, is like the motion just like moving our knees back, or like are we like Like, what's the motion from going to like sitting to standing?
So I think the easiest way to think of the motion is just drop your heels. So just go from sitting, just boom, just drop your heels, and it pops your legs straight and puts you into a stand-up position. Right? I feel like that's the best mental game. Drop your heels, boom, you're standing up. And the key is to do it fast. Right? If you're wasting time in between that movement, then you're likely doing that movement right at the most dangerous time of the track too, right? Where you're probably hitting acceleration bumps coming out of the corner. You have to make sure that that pop to standing is as quick and efficient as you can, and you have to make sure when you're going from standing to sitting, same thing, you have to really quickly drop that butt to the sleep. You take too much time, and that's right where all the braking bumps are. So sinking the heels to pop up is a good thing to remember, and then to go from standing to sitting, I always say, okay, butt forward and head upright. Butt forward, head upright. Because the mistake when people sit is their butts either drop too far back on the back of the seat, or they get the head way too far forward. So butt forward, head upright to sit, and then boom, heel drop, stand. Does that make sense? Good question. Any other questions? Okay, now we're going to get to the fun stuff. So we don't need your stands anymore. We'll take a quick 10-minute break. So what time is it now? 12?
11:15.
11:15.
Team.
Great. Okay, we're way ahead. So usually this ends right around 12.